Welcome to the first episode of Power Talks with Santosh Shah, Season 2. In today's episode, we have with us a special guest, the Ambassador of Malaysia to Nepal, His Excellency DATO ILANKOVAN KOLANDAVELU. Malaysia has become an influential nation in Asia today, with its unique approach of economy and prosperity and fraternity. So Malaysia has played a key role in the global effort of combating terrorism since 9/11. Now that Osama bin Laden, the most wanted chief engineer of terror factories, is dead, what has Malaysian government taken as a new approach to dealing with extremism?
Well, my own perception is that with the demise of Osama bin Laden, I don't think so the international terrorism will be eliminated altogether. If you look over the years, Osama bin Laden has become more of an inspirational leader and a face for international terrorism. And now there are so many cells, independent cells operating, so-called franchise cells, in many parts of North Africa as well as in Asia. So I think in addressing this problem, Malaysian approach has been consistent as well as participatory role. I think I can draw parallel to our own experience in handling own domestic terrorism that is posed by communist insurgency during the 50s, 60s and 70s. We have very successfully addressed our domestic terrorism posed by communists in those years, basically by opting to two approach. One is of course by military means to seek and eliminate the communist insurgents. But other means, of course, to identifying what are the root causes that cause communism to prosper or thrive. In Malaysia, so we have identified that poverty is one of the main causes. So we have brought massive development and prosperity to Malaysia. With that, there is no support for the communist insurgents in Malaysia. So I think we can draw the same parallel, same lessons in addressing international terrorism. Besides resorting to military means and force, I think we also have to look at the root causes. What are the causes that lead to international terrorism? Maybe it could be marginalization, poverty, and perhaps issues like Palestine. So I think we have to really look into these issues to identify the root cause. As Mahatma Gandhi once said, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. So just resorting to force might not address this problem in its entirety.
Asia has great economic prospects. At the same time, Asia, as you said, also hosts the small and big terror organizations. But Malaysia's approach is very unique and homegrown. How can Malaysia talk about this example in an international scale, especially with Europe, America, and United Nations?
As I just said, I think the most effective way of addressing this terrorism, besides resorting to security and military means, is identifying the root cause, as I just mentioned to you. I think the root cause can be in many areas. It could be poverty, marginalization, and other areas, other issues, international and maybe even regional issues. So I think we have to address that issues before we can effectively address terrorism, international terrorism.
I would also like you to share with us one of the secrets that Malaysia holds in maintaining its economic stability. The major cities around the world, rich cities, have been bombed by the terror activities and economies have suffered. Since 2008, we have had economic recession. Malaysia somehow still maintains its economics. What are the secrets behind that?
I think I'll be very glad to respond to that. I think over the years, almost 53 years since independence, Malaysia has built up a very strong economic fundamentals. So much so, even during the financial crisis in 1997, we were able to resuscitate and recover the economy and set the economy on a recovery path without resorting to IMF remedies. I think the government constantly has been inventing and reinventing our economic policy strategies and approaches, and we have very much diversified our economy. So if you look at the economy, we started off as agricultural based, and we moved on to industrial based, and now it's knowledge based and service based economy that we are trying to promote. So, and the government also has come up with a massive economy, a very bold and brave economic program and strategies called the Economic Transformation Program. So this will be now implemented in Malaysia to put Malaysia on a high growth trajectory and path. So this will also enable us to achieve the vision of 2020 of Malaysia becoming a developed nation by that year.
Malaysia's economic growth has taken in a very small time span.
Mhm.
How was it achieved, and what are the lessons or examples with which the developing countries like Nepal benefit?
I think there are many factors come into play. First of all is political stability. I think this is very important. Political stability is the basis for economic growth and prosperity. So if you look in Malaysia, the same political party has been in power. It started off as 3 parties during the time of independence. It has now expanded to almost 14 parties. And these parties represents all ethnic groups and races and all regions. And they have been very successful in forging national unity and ethnic unity. And secondly, I think the leadership. We have a very visionary and able leadership. And now, since independence, we have only six prime ministers, And these prime ministers, the 6 prime ministers come from the same political party.
Okay.
And so there is consistency in terms of policy, So when there is a change of prime minister, it's not a regime change. It's only change of leadership.
Okay.
The policies remains. But we constantly improve and refine the policies, to keeping with the economic, changing times, So thirdly, I think is the bureaucracy. So we have a bureaucracy which is very professional and very committed. I think they have set a very good track record in bringing in prosperity and economic growth. And we constantly invest in our professionalism of our civil service, and they have done wonders in bringing about economic growth to the country as well as managing the country. And of course, fourthly, is eradication of poverty, irrespective of race. If you look at Malaysia, when we received independence, our poverty rate was almost 75 to 78%. But now, of independence, our poverty rate is just about 5%. Right? So I think eradication of poverty is a very important aspect, to address this economic growth here. And of course, the other issues are education. We have invested massively in education. Almost 20% of our budget, operational budget, goes for education, because we believe the human resources are the most important factor for any economy. So we have invested massively in education. And lastly, I would think the ability of the government to implement the 5-year development program. So we are now in the midst of implementing the 9th Malaysian development plan. We call it the 5-year Malaysia plan. So it's a 9th plan now. I think we have almost achieved 90% success rate in implementing these Malaysian plans.
But in a way, political stability has helped the economic growth and also maintain its consistency. But to what extent does the harmony of various religions and ethnicities support political stability?
I think if you look at the ruling party, which is governing Malaysia since independence, it comprises of 14 parties representing all ethnic groups and races, and also all regions. And I think we have been very successful in forging ethnic partnership and collaboration. So what we have done is that there are major races and ethnic groups in Malaysia. We were able to pull the strength together for national development. So I think because of political stability, the government can concentrate on economic growth and reviving the economy and set it on a higher trajectory path.
Malaysia so far has maintained itself from several threats. But recently, the biggest worry is the natural threat. In 2004, Indonesia, Thailand, and Sri Lanka were affected badly by tsunami. Now it was Japan recently. Since Malaysia is located in the same region, how is the government assessing this natural threat?
Well, I think we are very fortunate. We are situated in the part of the world where Malaysia faces almost no national calamities, except for the occasional floods which we face. We don't have earthquakes, we don't have volcano eruptions, we don't have hurricanes. Of course we had a tsunami in 2004, but this was a very, very isolated incident, only incident that happened in Malaysia. So Malaysia is very well prepared, to face all these calamities. So we have an early warning system for tsunami, which was immediately put in place after the 2004 tragedy. And we also cooperate very closely with ASEAN and other East Asian countries, in helping early warning system as well as other preparedness. In Malaysia, we also have a team called SMART Team, which is the membership is taken from Army, Fire Brigade and Police, and they are very specially trained to seek and rescue missions. And they can be deployed at very short notice, not only in Malaysia but in other parts of Southeast Asia. We have deployed them in other parts of the countries, in other part of the world, in the region. And they have been handled these calamities very effectively.
Your Excellency, will continue with our conversation after a short break.
Okay.
Do stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Power Talks. We are in conversation with the Malaysian Ambassador to Nepal, His Excellency DATO ILANKOVAN KOLANDAVELU. During the recent job cuts in many Malaysian industries, migrant workers were sent back to their countries like Bangladesh and other countries, but Nepali workers were allowed to continue. Any specific reason for this special favor?
I think in terms of bilateral relations, we have a very soft spot for Nepal. This is partly in recognition of the bold and brave Nepalis, especially Gurkhas, who served in Malaysia in the 50s and 60s and 70s in the maintenance of peace and security in Malaysia. Some of them, they have given up their lives, in the course of their duty, and some of them have been injured. I think we take note of that, so we always consider Nepal as a close friend.
The remittance that the Nepali workers bring from Malaysia is very huge. It's 11% of the total budget.
Yeah.
And most of the amount that they bring goes to the rural parts of Nepal because that's where they come from. Has our government ever acknowledged this contribution?
I've been here 3 years, Santokh Shah, but I'm not sure whether the government has really acknowledged that, because we have not seen tangibly. But I think I'm sure they are aware of it, But it's rather strange, Sometimes when the government wanted to consult the international community, it always the donor countries and the two the big neighbors, and we will occasionally we'll call, but most of the time we are left out. So it's very strange, So there's a tendency, But we have raised this issue with the Chief of Protocol. But let's hope, So because I think Malaysia too is a very important country among the developing world. So in fact, we are in the forefront of the developing world, and we have highlighted many international issues that affect the developing world. So I hope, that we will also be included.
Would that attitude change if Malaysia had a donor agency attached to it and provided money straight to the government and not necessarily directly to the people?
Perhaps, because very interestingly, when I met one of the former prime ministers, he mentioned to me, that he has not seen me during interaction with donor countries. So I mentioned that Malaysia is not a donor country. I also mentioned to him that Malaysia accommodates 500,000 Nepalis, and they send US 500 million annually to Nepal. And also we have what is called a Malaysian Technical Cooperation Programs. This is capacity building and human resource development in the government sector. So over the years, we have almost 25 years, we have trained about 500 Nepali government officials, and some of them has become now secretaries.
Malaysia is a success story when it comes to tourism, and Nepal has natural assets to develop tourism, but we are still struggling with it. How can we utilize the expertise and technical supports from Malaysia to raise the tourism sector of Nepal?
In 1997, when we had the Asian financial crisis, we have only about 5 million tourists visiting Malaysia. But last year there was 24.8 million. So I think it's a tremendous growth in the tourism sector. I think Nepal has to look at Malaysia, how we organize our Visit Malaysia year. So we had a big campaign. So I'm sure you have seen the TVs, Malaysia Truly Asia.
Malaysia Truly Asia.
I think it's a very successful campaign. And in fact, it's so successful, we wanted to keep the tagline to continue for many years to come.
I think it sounds very good.
Many years to come. And I think when we do our promotion, international promotion, the government works very closely with the private sector, whether it's hoteliers or tour agents and other important players. So we undertake a joint promotional tour overseas, and we jointly promote the country. And also we allocate a big budget for tourism promotion. So much so, tourism has become the biggest revenue earner for Malaysia, not petroleum or manufactured goods, tourism. And I think we have shared our experience and expertise with Nepal. But 2 years ago, we have taken a big delegation from Nepal, led by the Minister of Tourism and Civil Aviation, together with officials from Ministry of Tourism. So we have shared our experience and knowledge, and in areas as how we have promoted Malaysia as a tourist destination. And we also taken him to Malacca, the whole tour delegation we have taken to Malacca. Malacca is a very interesting place. It's less than 1 million people, but last year about 8 million people have visited Malacca, and it has no natural resources. So in fact, the Chief Minister himself brief the delegation how we are able to develop Malacca as an important tourist destination in Malaysia. So we have also sent in the expert in the form of Dr. Victor Wee. He used to be the former Secretary General of Ministry of Tourism, Malaysia, and is now the Secretary General of International UN Tourism Council. I think he has shared a lot of experience. I think Nepal should look towards more towards the immediate neighbors, and particularly Southeast Asia and Asia. I think the big markets are here, next to your doors. China, India, Southeast Asia, Japan, and East Asia too. Japan, South Korea. I think the people are becoming very prosperous. I think they have big spending capacity. I think Nepal should more concentrate in promoting the tourism in this area.
But it is rather ironical that the officers in charge of promoting Nepal tourism, because they get to travel to Europe, America, and bigger countries for free at the government's cost. Probably they take it more as a leverage to travel to those countries. But that apart, Nepal had great prospects with tourism rising in 1990s. But unfortunately, we had a royal massacre in 2001, and then we had the royal takeover in 2005, and then we had a decade-long civil war. So mostly related to monarchy, which fortunately we in 2006. But when we look at Malaysia, there are 9 sultans just in one country.
Yes.
How is it possible that nine sultans can live together and still have a constitutional monarchy?
When we became independent, we decided to be a constitutional monarch and parliamentary democracy. So we had a constitution. For your information, we had only one constitution in Malaysia, which was written before independence in 1957. Of course, we have made a lot of modification to that one constitution, amendments, to keeping up with the changing world. And in the constitution is very clearly stated what are the power, privileges, and authority of the royalties. And they have very strictly confined to that requirements as mentioned in the constitution. So we don't have any problems. In fact, the royalties in Malaysia are very much respected and revered. So we are very fortunate, to have a constitutional monarchy as well as a parliamentary democracy, and that is very successful too.
AirAsia has gained popularity as a budget airline with several connections all over Asia. Is there any possibility of having AirAsia connection to Nepal? Because that could increase more flow of exchange.
I've been really pressing hard, to bring Mars Malaysian Airlines as well as AirAsia. But of course, there are various constraints in terms of availability of aircrafts and also the availability of pilots. We need experienced pilots to land in airports such as Kathmandu Airport, which is very difficult airport, Tribunan Airport.
Because of the mountains?
Mountains and also in high altitude. But I think we are making a lot of progress. Probably AirAsia might come earlier than Mars. So the information I obtained, latest information, is that probably they'll come in July, if things go well. And as you know, AirAsia has been one of the most successful budget airline in the world. They have been in operation for about 10 years in Malaysia. Over a 10-year period, they have flown about 100 million passengers. That means almost 10 million passengers a year. And they give a very competitive flight fare. And I think if they come here, they'll be very successful. And we also hope Mars can come here because there is a huge market potential in Nepal.
Sakyamuni Buddhist Foundation of Malaysia, and with your leadership as well, you've been pushing for the last 2 years with the Nepal government to develop Lumbini as a peace city, to invite millions of Buddhists from the world over. It's a $3 billion US project.
That's right.
How is that project moving on?
Well, Sakyamuni Buddhist Foundation Malaysia is founded by a group of Malaysian Chinese who are Buddhists themselves. And they, together with AirAsia as a strategic partner, are very keen to develop Lumbini into an international peace city. Because if you look at other major religions, they all have developed their sacred cities. So Lumbini is one place, which is the birthplace of Buddha, that's not been developed. So I think these people are very committed. I think they have been very successful in life, but they are very committed to religion, to Buddhism. They wanted to do something to develop. So what they have been telling me is that there are about 150 million Buddhists within 1 to 5 hours flying time around Asia. Of course, there are 380 million Buddhists throughout the world, but in Asia alone, within 1 to 5 hours flying time, there are 150 million Buddhists. So Sakyamuni Buddhist Foundation and AirAsia is very keen to develop Lumbini the whole of Lumbini, including the airport, as a low-cost hub. Because the thing is that if you develop Lumbini into international PCT, it is meaningless. We cannot bring people in huge amount, in masses. So AirAsia has very good connectivity, together with Malaysian Airlines. They have very good connectivity. They fly to all the major cities in Southeast Asia and Asia. So AirAsia is very confident that they can fly in, a big majority of these 150 million Buddhists. Just imagine, if you can bring in about 10% of that population annually, it's already 50 million people. So we are looking at Lumbini as a wholesale development. It's a package development. We are talking of clusters. We are talking of not only hotels, hotels from budget hotels to 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, and also other facilities, power, water, utilities, other utilities, and also the education institutions which is related to Buddhism, and also hospitals, because I was told that many Buddhists would like to have their children born in Lumbini because the birthplace of Buddha is very significant, religiously significant for them. So these people, this Sakya Buddhist Foundation, they are very keen also to develop maternity hospitals in Lumbini. So I think if you look at Nepal, there are other very significant sacred Hindu sites, not only around Lumbini but also in Kathmandu and other places like Muktinath and so many places, and also the birthplace of Sita. And there's a place in Muktinath where, if you look at Mahabharata, the Pandavas, the 5 brothers of Pandavas, have ascended to heaven, from that place. So there are a lot of religious significant place. So all this can be developed, as in stages.
The Lumbini Peace Project can actually change the face of the country.
That's right. Yeah.
It's a huge project, $3 billion investments with prospects of having 400 million Buddhists pilgrims visit Lumbini. Why does not our leaders, the leaders in the Nepal government, get the simple theory?
I really do not know, Santosh. When the Sakya Buddhist Foundation approached the government about this project, they did not go through me, they went direct. And after about 3 or 4 months, there was no response from the government, and they came to seek my assistance. So I've approached, over almost a year, I've approached various levels of government, including the previous Prime Minister, But somehow, I do not know, we did not get any response at all. Although everybody has admitted that this project is a very good project and this is what Nepal needs, but somehow the capacity to respond is not there. So probably the previous government was a caretaker government for almost 7 months, and also they were embroiled with their own political problems. So probably that's the reason. But now I'm making my attempts to see the current Prime Minister. So probably we want to give another push to this project, because I have been to Malaysia to meet the Sakya Buddhist Foundation and AirAsia. They are as keen as before. They are very committed to complete this project, to undertake this project. So I think I will try another attempt, before I leave. I complete my tour of duty in Nepal. Hopefully this project, will be successfully implemented. But having said that, I think. In Nepal, there's enough of political revolution, over a long history, political history. I think Nepal should now move into economic revolution. So I think we should probably Lumbini is the right project, to start off, because Nepal is graced with the birthplace of Buddha as Lumbini.
That will always stay like that.
It will stay like that, as you say. And I think the Sakya Buddhist Foundation AirAsia has indicated to me, getting the funds, international fund, is not a problem, But of course, the ball is in Nepal's court, Nepal government's court, So without their endorsement and support, and also the facilitation, we can't come in and undertake this project. So hopefully, all approval will be given for this project, and it will be undertaken as soon as possible.
Your Excellency, it was wonderful having you on Power Talks. Yeah. Thank you very much for
Thank you very much, Santosha. I enjoyed the interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us. We will be back next week, the same time. Till then, good luck and goodbye.